Welcome back to the YouTube series on ACMS. We need to start talking about nominations, officer nominations, and voting for next year's officers. This is going to come up shortly for most clubs. If your fiscal year starts in January, this will come up for most clubs. My club's fiscal year starts in January, and it's already started. We need to talk about how ACMS takes a club through that, what ACMS offers in order to make that happen, and what you need to do to make sure that happens smoothly. So the first thing that you're going to notice if you're an officer is that your meeting reminder is going to have an extra blurb in it. Usually it just says a notes courtesy reminder that the monthly meeting's coming up. However, when you get close to nominating for new officers, you'll get this extra blurb in there in your emails that say officer nominations are coming up. It'll tell you which month that happens. When that happens, you need to make sure that the list of voted in officers in ACMS is correct. Now, this is just sent to officers of the club. If you notice, you compare this to the same meeting reminder for a regular member, you'll see that, you can see the difference between these two emails. This one just tells this fella that the monthly meeting's coming up, the October monthly meeting's coming up. But for me, an officer, it includes this blurb about, hey, let's get prepared for nominations coming up in November. And it wants you to check, like I said, these voted in officers. So all clubs have various lists of voted in officers. Your officers can either be voted in, or you may have some folks that are just appointed. ACMS will manage the nominations and give you some assistance in the election for voted in officers. And so all clubs have this officer list. You're seeing my officer list in ACMS now. And then if you look at the tab right next to officers, you'll see voted in officers. This is the list of voted in officers as per our bylaws. You need to make sure this is correct. If, for example, let's say your secretary is appointed, then you'd want to remove this. Let's say that you have another type of voted in officer. You can press this button, select what type it is. Maybe you vote in a field marshal. And so now we've got president, vice president, treasurer, and field marshal. And then what's going to happen as officer nominations start to appear, as you start getting officer nominations from club members, you'll enter those here under the officer nominations tab. I've already got a few here. The way this works is, let's say somebody nominates me, right? My name's Joe Horvath, for some position. So here to search for my AMA number, I can just type in Joe, and my AMA number comes up. I'll add that as an officer nomination. And let's say that they nominated me for that field marshal position. And so now I've got a nomination for president, 2 for vice president, and 1 for field marshal. What will happen is these officer nominations will be collected all the way through the voting month for your club, at which point in time a ballot will be generated. However, before the ballot gets generated, there will be a reminder sent out to all the club members that officer nominations are coming up. It'll list the current list of officers that do get voted in, who currently holds that position. And then also attached to this email, you'll get another membership roster and a little note here that says only voted in officers get listed here. Appointed officers don't appear on the voted in officers list. So this is a reminder to all the members that they need to think about nominations and that they can bring their nominations into the appropriate club meeting and announce them. And then you take those and you enter those nominations here in this list. Okay, so if you get all the way through to your officer nomination month and you haven't entered any nominations for officers yet, then what will happen is your members on their nomination month meeting reminder, for my club it's in November, you'll get the current list of nominations for each of the voted in positions, and you'll see that there's no nominations for them. However, as nominations come in, and this actually gets filled out, then the note that gets sent to members will list those nominations. So for example, according to the list of voted in officers and the nominations that I have, remember my voted in officers are these guys and the current nominations are these guys, the emails that the club members will get will show the current list. For example, you can see that this meeting reminder this will be the meeting reminder for the meeting that actually takes the official nominations in. We'll have the current list of nominations as they appear. And in this particular case also, the same month gets close to my membership renewal process month for the club. So I start sending out ways to rejoin the club. I ask people to bring a check to the field, or in our case, we also take Venmo, so they can scan that and pay with Venmo. But nevertheless, the point here is that for nominations, these are listed. Okay, so now, up to now, we've notified the members that nominations are coming up. The members are supposed to hand in their nominations. We record those nominations in ACMS in the Officers Nomination tab. And then for the next month would be the voting month. And for the voting month, ACMS is going to generate a ballot according to the list of nominations and send a ballot out to all members. So let's take a look at what that ballot looks like. Now, to see a quick reference of what that ballot looks like, you can always go to your administration tab, click on download voting ballot, and take a look and see what got downloaded. If you do that. So if you remember, we have president, vice president, field marshal, treasurer, and we had 2 people nominated for vice president. So the ballot lists those people for that position, asks you to vote for only one of 2. There's only 1 nomination for field marshal, and so no votes required. However, notice there's always the ability for a club member to write in a vote. For any voted in position, the club member can always write in a vote. Now, this is just a ballot that I printed from the administration tab. So it's called uncontrolled, and it's uncontrolled because it was just kind of printed haphazardly. The ones that go to members are official ballots. Let's take a look at one of those. Okay, official ballots look more like this. In the first place, you'll see that they say official at the top. And the reason they're official is because they're tracked. You see at the bottom there's a barcode and there's a QR code. Now this barcode and QR code can be scanned just to let you know that this is a valid ballot for the club for that year. You'll see in the ballot, of course, president, no votes required. There's only 1 nominee. Vice president, vote for 1 of 2, just like the sample ballot was. And you can write in a vote. All club members can optionally write in a vote. So this will be attached to the monthly meeting reminder for the votes. Everybody will get a ballot They can print it out, fill it out, and then hand it in at the meeting, and and that's the way ACMS then just kind of moves this voting along. If you scan this QR code, you get something that looks like this. Notice it'll just say that it is a valid voting ballot for which club and for which year, but it doesn't associate it to any one person. So we don't really want to make club members think that we can always track who they voted for, but we can track whether or not it's a valid ballot. Now, if perchance one of the club members doesn't bring in their ballot for the voting month, then the officers in their pre-meeting reports will get one of these sample ballots. And of course that it looks like this, the uncontrolled ballot. They'll get one of these uncontrolled ballots in their pre-meeting reports, and the intent is that for anybody who didn't bring a ballot, they can copy these off and give it to anybody who didn't bring a ballot. However, once you start using these uncontrolled ballots, then the voting process becomes a little bit more uncontrolled. But you can use it if you want to. I mean, it's just an assurance that for people who didn't remember to bring in their ballot, they can get one at the club meeting. Okay, so then moving along, what happens is the club members will fill out their ballots and they'll hand them back into the club secretary. Club secretary will count them. Maybe another person will count them also, and then publish the results of the vote. Once the vote is the results of the vote is announced, and it's determined who becomes an officer for next year, then I will show you where to put those new officers in the next video. The next video that I want to talk about, and we're not going to do that now, but the next video is going to be what happens when the next year for the club comes up. What happens is the next year for the club to ACMS looks like a whole new club, all new officers, all new members. There are a lot of things that are copied, like the documents, things like that. And we'll talk about that in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.